A shadow falls across ancient Britain, a land of mist, mystery, and fierce tribes. But even the bravest warriors tremble at the name whispered on the wind, Boudica. She is a warrior queen, a symbol of defiance against an empire. Her name echoes through the ages, a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who dare to fight for freedom. The year is 60 AD. The Roman Empire, a force of unparalleled might, tightens its grip on the island of Britain. Its legions, disciplined and ruthless, have crushed all resistance. In the east, a storm gathers. She is Boudica, and this is her story. For generations, the Roman Empire had been steadily expanding its reach across the known world. Its legions marched from the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean to the mist-shrouded lands of Britannia. Their goal, conquest; their method, brutal efficiency. Roman rule, though, was a double-edged sword. It brought with it the promise of order, of paved roads and advanced engineering. But this order came at a steep price: subjugation. The Iceni king, Prasutagus, was humiliated, his kingdom treated as a vassal state. The proud Iceni people simmered with resentment, waiting for a spark to ignite their fury. Boudica's rebellion was a firestorm that swept across Roman Britain, leaving a trail of destruction and forever etching her name in the annals of history. Her story, though, is more than just a chronicle of battles and bloodshed. It is a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to resist tyranny. Boudica's legacy extends far beyond the battlefield. She has become an enduring icon of resistance, her image emblazoned on banners and her name invoked by those who fight for justice. From the suffragettes demanding the right to vote to modern-day activists challenging inequality, Boudica's spirit lives on. In the heart of East Anglia, where rolling hills met fertile plains, lived the Iceni tribe. These were a proud and fiercely independent people, their lives intricately woven with the rhythm of the land. They were not merely farmers and herdsmen, they were warriors, their spirits as untamed as the wild horses that roamed their lands. The Iceni worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, their beliefs rooted in the natural world around them. But one deity held a special place in their hearts: Andraste, the goddess of victory and vengeance. She was their protector, their inspiration in times of war, her name invoked with equal reverence and fear. The Iceni, though bound by treaty, never truly surrendered their spirit. They watched, they waited, the embers of defiance smouldering beneath the surface. And the time would come when their patience would run out. Prasutagus, king of the Iceni, was a man caught between two worlds. He understood the might of Rome, the futility of open rebellion. He also understood the fierce pride of his people, their deep-seated resentment towards their occupiers. His was a delicate balancing act, a desperate gamble to preserve his tribe's way of life. In a bid to secure his legacy and protect his people, Prasutagus made a fateful decision. He named the Roman Emperor Nero as co-heir to his kingdom alongside his own daughters. This act of appeasement, he believed, would ensure the Iceni's survival even after his death. But Rome, like a ravenous wolf, was never satisfied with scraps. Upon Prasutagus's death, the fragile peace shattered. Boudica, Prasutagus's widow, watched in horror as her husband's legacy was desecrated, her people humiliated. Boudica, her name whispered in fear and admiration, was no ordinary woman. Tall and imposing, with fiery red hair that mirrored her temperament, she possessed a sharp intellect and an iron will. The Romans, accustomed to dealing with subservient women, saw her as a mere obstacle, a nuisance to be dealt with swiftly and brutally. But Boudica was made of sterner stuff. The Romans' cruelty, their utter disregard for Iceni customs and laws, ignited a firestorm within her. She refused to be cowed, to let her husband's memory be sullied, her people enslaved. She became a rallying point for the Iceni, her voice filled with righteous anger echoing across the land. Boudica's message resonated with the Iceni. The seeds of rebellion, sown by Roman arrogance and nurtured by Iceni anger, began to sprout. Whispers of discontent turned into murmurs of defiance, then into open calls for revolt. Boudica, her heart ablaze with a mother's fury and a queen's resolve, became the focal point of this burgeoning uprising. She rode from village to village, her voice ringing out, urging her people to take up arms. She spoke of their ancestors, of their gods, of the sacred land that had been stolen from them. Her words were like sparks igniting a tinderbox, setting the hearts of the Iceni aflame. Other tribes, sensing the shifting tides of power, the vulnerability of their Roman oppressors, flocked to Boudica's banner. The Trinovantes, their lands bordering the Iceni, had also suffered under Roman rule. They saw in Boudica a chance for vengeance, an opportunity to reclaim what they had lost. Tension crackled in the air. The Romans, oblivious to the storm brewing, continued their exploitation. Their arrogance blinded them to the simmering rage of the conquered. They had grown complacent, their senses dulled by years of unchallenged dominance. Boudica, meanwhile, was a whirlwind of activity. She met with her war leaders strategizing, planning their attack. Her commands were sharp, decisive. She was a warrior queen, born to lead her people to freedom or death. There was no middle ground. The rebellion erupted with the sudden violence of a summer storm. Boudica, at the head of a vast army, descended upon the Roman settlements. Her warriors, their faces painted with the blue woad of battle, were eager to unleash their pent-up rage. Their first target was Camulodunum, a symbol of Roman arrogance and oppression. Once a sacred site for their Britons, it had been transformed into a Roman colony, a place where retired legionaries lorded over the native population. Now, it would be put to the torch. The Roman response was sluggish, their initial disdain giving way to panic. Camulodunum burned for days, the flames visible for miles. The sack of Camulodunum sent shockwaves throughout Roman Britain. The streets, once bustling with merchants and citizens, were littered with corpses. The air was thick with the stench of death and burning. The city's Roman inhabitants, those who had not fled or been cut down, were shown no mercy. Boudica, however, was not driven by blind rage. She understood the power of symbolism. The destruction of Camulodunum was not just an act of vengeance, it was a calculated message to both her enemies and her followers. To the Romans, it was a stark warning. Their days of unchallenged rule were over. To the Britons, it was a rallying cry. News of the city's fall spread like wildfire, igniting the flames of rebellion in other parts of the province. The Romans, finally recognizing the gravity of the situation, dispatched the 9th Legion to quell the uprising. Led by an experienced commander, they marched to intercept Boudica's forces, confident in their superior training and discipline. The two armies clashed near the site of present-day Colchester. The Romans, arrayed in their tight formations, their shields forming an impenetrable wall, were initially confident of victory. But Boudica had chosen her battleground carefully. The 9th Legion, once the pride of Rome, was routed. The news of the 9th Legion's defeat spread like wildfire across Britannia. Panic gripped the Roman settlements. The might of Rome, once thought unbreakable, had been shattered. Boudica, the warrior queen, was at the gates. Londinium, a burgeoning trading hub, lay directly in the path of Boudica's advancing army. Its inhabitants, a mix of Roman citizens and Britons who had embraced Roman ways, were gripped by terror. Some, clinging to the hope that Rome's power would protect them, barricaded themselves within their homes, praying to Jupiter and Mars for deliverance. Others, more pragmatic, fled for their lives, seeking refuge in the surrounding forests and marshes. Londinium, with its cobbled streets and Roman villas, represented everything the Britons had lost. Boudica's army, swelled by Britons eager to break free from Roman rule, surged into Londinium like a tidal wave. The city's defences, hastily erected and manned by terrified civilians, crumbled before the onslaught. The Britons, their faces painted with the blue woad of war, their eyes burning with a terrible resolve, showed no mercy. The streets of Londinium, once bustling with merchants and traders, became rivers of blood. The cries of the dying mingled with the crackle of flames as the Britons put the city to the torch. Buildings collapsed in on themselves, sending plumes of ash and smoke into the sky. Roman villas, symbols of wealth and privilege, were looted and burned. For days, Londinium burned, a pyre to the Britons' thirst for vengeance. News of the fall of Londinium reached Suetonius Paulinus, the Roman governor in the north. He had been campaigning against the Druids on the island of Mona, or Anglesey, his attention focused on crushing the last vestiges of Celtic religious resistance. Now, with his pride wounded and the province teetering on the brink of collapse, he marched south with his remaining legions. Suetonius, a seasoned commander, knew that he was facing a formidable foe in Boudica. He gathered his forces, choosing his battleground carefully. He selected a narrow defile flanked by dense forests, a location that would negate the Britons' numerical superiority and allow his legions to fight in their favoured formations. The two armies met at a place that would later be known as Watling Street. The Romans, however, stood firm, their discipline holding strong in the face of the onslaught. The Battle of Watling Street raged for hours. The ground, soaked with blood, became a treacherous quagmire. Boudica, her chariot weaving through the ranks, rallied her warriors. She fought with the fury of a cornered animal, but the Britons began to falter. The tide of battle turned decisively in the Romans' favour. The retreat soon turned into a rout. Boudica, her army shattered, refused to flee. She would not end her days as a captive. Some accounts claim she took her own life rather than surrender. Her defiance and courage would forever mark her as a legend. Though the Battle of Watling Street marked the end of Boudica's rebellion, it did not extinguish the flame she had ignited. The Romans might have crushed the uprising, but they could not crush the spirit of defiance that Boudica embodied. The memory of her courage, her ferocity in defending her people continued to resonate throughout the land. In the aftermath of the rebellion, Roman rule in Britain took on a harsher edge. Fearful of further uprisings, the Romans tightened their grip, their policies even more oppressive than before. Yet the spectre of Boudica lingered, a constant reminder that even the mightiest empire could be challenged, its authority shaken by the will of the oppressed. The Britons, though defeated, had tasted freedom, had felt the intoxicating surge of unity against a common enemy. The memory of Boudica's rebellion became a source of inspiration, a whispered legend passed down through generations, keeping alive the hope of eventual liberation. The spirit of Boudica, the warrior queen, continued to haunt the Roman occupiers, a silent testament to the enduring power of resistance. The Romans might have won the battle, but the war for the soul of Britannia was far from over. In the centuries following the Roman conquest of Britain, Boudica's story faded into the mists of time, her name mentioned only in hushed tones, her exploits becoming the stuff of legend. Yet, even as her story was being forgotten by some, it was being carefully preserved by others, waiting for the right moment to resurface. During the Renaissance, a period marked by a renewed interest in classical antiquity, Boudica's story was rediscovered, her image pulled from the dusty archives of history. Scholars, poets, and playwrights, captivated by her tale of courage and defiance against tyranny, found in Boudica a potent symbol for their own times. Queen Elizabeth I, herself a powerful female ruler navigating a treacherous political landscape, embraced Boudica as a proto-feminist icon, a symbol of feminine strength and resolve. Elizabeth's reign, marked by constant threats from both within and outside her realm, resonated with the struggles of the warrior queen. Boudica's image, once relegated to the shadows, was thrust back into the light, her story retold and reinterpreted to suit the political and social currents of the day. She became a symbol of national pride, her defiance of Rome mirroring England's own struggles against foreign powers. Boudica's story, with its themes of resistance, courage, and tragic heroism, has inspired artists across various disciplines. From literature to painting to sculpture, her image explores power, oppression, and the indomitable spirit. Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem paints a vivid picture of the warrior queen leading her troops into battle. Thomas Thornycroft's iconic statue of Boudica stands as a powerful testament to her enduring legacy. Her story continues to resonate with contemporary audiences, a timeless symbol of resistance. Boudica's story, though rooted in a specific time and place, carries a timeless message, a warning to those who would wield power unjustly. It reminds us that oppression, no matter how absolute it may seem, inevitably breeds resistance. It highlights the potent power of unity, of a people bound together by a shared purpose, willing to fight for their freedom. Boudica's legacy serves as a stark reminder that history is not merely a collection of dates and battles, but a living tapestry woven from the triumphs and tragedies of those who came before us. Her story compels us to examine our own relationship with power, to question authority, and to speak out against injustice whenever and wherever we encounter it. Though her rebellion ultimately failed, Boudica's spirit lives on, inspiring us to fight for what we believe in, to stand up for the oppressed, and to never surrender our freedom without a fight. Her story, passed down through the ages, remains a potent symbol of the enduring human spirit, a testament to the unwavering belief that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope and courage can prevail. Centuries have passed since Boudica's rebellion shook Roman Britain. Time has reshaped the landscape, burying remnants beneath layers of earth and stone. The past whispers through artifacts, fragments of a story waiting to be pieced together. Archaeologists have unearthed clues shedding light on Boudica's time. Every object helps us understand the lives of those from that turbulent period. Coins, small yet evocative, speak volumes about the Iceni people. Beyond coins, archaeologists have uncovered artifacts that provide glimpses into Boudica's rebellion. Weapons tell a tale of brutal clashes and desperate struggles. The discovery of Roman military equipment suggests the chaos and widespread nature of the uprising. Burned layers in archaeological sites corroborate Boudica's scorched earth campaign. Mass graves paint a grim picture of the conflict's brutality. These bones whisper tales of suffering and resilience. Each discovery adds another layer of understanding to her rebellion. They allow us to grapple with the human cost of conflict. These echoes of rebellion remind us that the past is woven into our present. Time marches on, centuries blur. Yet Boudica's name still resonates, her story. A beacon through the ages, a queen who dared to defy an empire, a warrior who rallied her people against oppression. Her rebellion, though ultimately crushed, left an indelible mark. It shattered the myth of Roman invincibility. It showed that even the most powerful empires bleed when confronted with the righteous fury of the oppressed. Boudica's tale transcends the confines of history books. It speaks to something universal, the yearning for freedom, the courage to resist tyranny, the fierce love for one's land and people. These are themes that echo through the ages, as relevant today as they were in Roman Britain. We see her spirit in the countless individuals and movements who have risen to challenge injustice. From the French resistance fighters to the civil rights activists, the echoes of Boudica's rebellion can be felt wherever people rise up against oppression. Today, Boudica stands as a symbol of defiance, her name whispered with reverence and admiration. She reminds us that one person's courage can ignite a movement, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit can never be truly subjugated. Her story continues to inspire artists, writers, and musicians, her image emblazoned on everything from statues to tattoos. She has transcended the realm of history to become a cultural icon, her tale retold and reinterpreted for each new generation. But Boudica's legacy is more than just a feel-good story. It is a call to action, a reminder that the fight for justice and equality is a perpetual struggle, one that demands our constant vigilance and unwavering commitment. As we navigate the complexities of our own time, facing down new challenges to our freedoms and values, we would do well to remember Boudica, the warrior queen who dared to defy an empire. Her story, passed down through the centuries, is a torch that continues to light our way, urging us to embrace our own capacity for courage, to fight for what we believe in, and to never surrender our freedom without a fight.